The recent Sonne finance exploit has hit users and DeFi protocols alike very hard. Now, 20 million is not a small amount, and that is the estimated total impact of that exploit. So, if you are part of Sonne or any adjacent DeFi protocol that uses this lending market, I'm sure you are aware of the situation, but here is a small recap. Sorry to interrupt you there, folks. I just want to quickly chime in and give you a quick update on our development. So contracts are still being in development, and we have been testing out the product for the past 45 days. I just released a tweet. This is what you are expecting, all right? So naked USDC and naked USDC out, and those are the annualized return over that period of 45 days. That's the range that you see in front of you. Now remember, markets are risky, markets are dynamic, but the goal here is to always optimize our strategy in order to give you the best return on just supplying USDC. That is the end game. Soft launch announcement coming in soon. So they did release an article called the Sonne exploit postmortem, and you can read the details about what happened. And they do basically give you an overview of what caused this. But of course, we're not gonna get too technical here. There was a known, issue with the fact that these guys have used the compound code, which is another leading market on Ethereum, and they have used this code to recreate this lending market on Optimism. And there was a bug that was well known for a while, but at the same time, the team has quote unquote addressed it, and they have quote unquote provided the solution for it. But unfortunately, it happened. All right, so it's called a donation attack. Again, we're not gonna get too technical. So the idea here is that because this has happened, and when there was a signal of something fishy going on, many protocols acted and tried to remove funds, and some ended up having lesser impact than others. Now, to name a few, there's Vesper Finance, Metronome Finance, Overnight Finance, Oath, so on and so forth. So there are more, but those are the ones that I know personally and potentially, liable on that fact. So I know for a fact that I am in Metronome, so as well as Vesper, because they're tied in together if you're using their grow pool to provide collateral Metronome. So I am in fact exposed indirectly, because something very important that people should understand is that DeFi protocols are building blocks, and yield comes from somewhere, and usually the backbone and the baseline is either a lending market or a liquid staking platform. And in this case, many of these pools that these DeFi protocols leverage come from lending markets, and because Sonne was the leading, lending market on Optimism, hence why they're the ones that were chosen, as a benchmark. So when this happens, tokens of some of these DeFi protocols, notably Sonne's token, for example, took, a huge hit. It dropped from 66 cents. It was hovering about, 6.6 cents. And then boom, now it's trading at 2.2 cents. Now you have others that also saw an impact. Like for example, Metronome's Met. I always like to look at the price versus ETH because recently ETH has rallied a lot. So looking at the price relative to Ethereum gives you an idea if the actual price, so the actual value, is going down versus going up in USD terms, and it's indeed dropping versus ETH. That's not a good sign. You have other tokens like VSP, so Vesper's token, which is by no means impacted, more or less. So it had little to no impact. So the assessment of token impact comes from the idea that potentially these teams have to liquidate a portion of these tokens on the LPs to give back funds to users. So right now the situation is at a standstill. So there's no real advancement from that perspective, and the exploiter or the hacker hasn't really reached consensus with the team. And they did actually provided a message for the exploiter. So if you drop back down, this is actually coming in from their Discord right here through their Twitter account. So you can come here, click on show more. If you drop here, you view the input as original, as UTF-8, and then you can read the message. So they're technically offering them a bounty of 10% versus returning the funds, and they consider this as a white hack. However, seems like the guy or the guys aren't budging, and they're trying to move funds to Ethereum in order to potentially put them in mixer contracts and, you know, for the track to be lost, so to speak, the trace. Now you can also follow up. They also have a list of the addresses known, at least, of the hacker. Those are the addresses here. You see related addresses to attacker, and you can, you know, take these addresses, put them on DBank and check them. So I did check a couple of days ago, and they are indeed trying to move funds from Optimism to mainnet, because this is where most of the mixing protocols are. And I guess they're not going to be the good guy here. They're still trying to get away with it, even though apparently the Sonne team is working closely with all of these guys to resolve this, and they have potential, you know, a potential lead in regards to who that group is, and hopefully there will be a resolution. I know for a fact that many of these teams, notably Vesper and Overnight, by the way, didn't have much of an impact. The Optimism side was impacted a bit, and the OVN, as well as their stable assets, they moved to the downside for a short period of time, but they actually recovered and they're now doing well. So I think for me, at least personally, the most impacted protocol is still Vesper, because they paused their grow pools, and we need to understand, because we're using their pools as collateral and metronome. So is that collateral still there, and what needs to be done? So I suggest you to follow the Discord closely if you are one of, you know, their investors. Lots of information is shared there on Metronome's Discord as well as on Vespers. They're tied together, remember that. So conclusion, no clear path here. Hopefully something will be done. Hopefully at least there will be a coverage if the funds are not recovered quickly. And this, I guess, serves us a lesson in regards to DeFi exposure. Now, yes, yield is attractive, numbers going up, and big numbers are attractive. I am personally attracted to this, so to speak, but security is much more important than anything else. Sure, you can make money today, you can make money tomorrow, a month, 2 months, 3 months from now, but all of that is useless is if it's cancelled and offset by one single, you know, potential hole that causes an exploit, and then your funds are out. And the second lesson is that you should know the protocol that you're investing in and the exposure that it is against, right? So yes, sure, I go into the code of the protocol and it's amazing, everything is safe and sound, but if there is an underlying exposure to another one, I should know, and I should also look at the security side of that other protocol. So 2 lessons, big lessons, costly lessons, but they should be learned in DeFi. And one last thing I will mention is that the Sonne team is not working just by themselves to resolve this. You have big boys coming in to help them out. Potentially the Optimism Foundation and the guys from Velodrome, the leading DEX on Optimism. So I do have faith. I do hope there will be a resolution, and I do hope that most investors will be made somewhat whole at the end of the day. We do have a Telegram chat. Consider joining us. Link will be below. And with that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.